Most people picture themselves living well into their 90s, but the stark truth is different. A great many won't see past 78. This isn't usually due to a major disease. It's the result of quiet daily routines, ignored red flags, and mental states that gradually sap your vitality, awareness, and passion for life. If you're over 60, consider this more than a piece of advice. This is your signal to wake up. What you choose to do over the coming year will largely decide if you diminish or cross the finish line with strength. Stick around, because the last point is the one almost nobody speaks about publicly. They become still. Life is activity. And yet, as many people age, movement gets downgraded to an option, something to squeeze in when there's an opening, when they're in the mood, or when the forecast is favorable. But your biology does not procrastinate. Your body pays attention to your actions and your inaction. And when intentional activity ceases, your body doesn't just hit pause. It commences a shutdown sequence. Muscle tissue diminishes, skeletons grow brittle, your sense of balance erodes, your circulation weakens, and your system starts to perfectly mirror the lesson you are teaching it: do less. The majority of seniors don't actively choose to stop being active. The process is subtle. You stop working. The daily walk to an office disappears. You find yourself spending more time inside. Climbing stairs begins to feel like a chore, so you find ways around them. You start to sit more frequently, not only for food, but all day long while watching shows or simply resting. Before you know it, activity is a reaction, not an action you initiate. You get up because you must, not because you desire it. You reach for something because it aches, not to maintain flexibility. You only venture outdoors when it's an absolute necessity. And without even realizing it, both your personal world and your physical body have contracted. But this is the part few people grasp. The issue isn't merely physical. Of course, when movement stops, your muscles wither. Your joints grow rigid, your skeletal frame becomes fragile. But the effects run far deeper. Activity is a stimulant not only for your physical form, but for your mind. Every time you move, you're firing signals from your feet up your spine and into your brain stem. These messages activate the entire nervous system. They help you stay sharp. They stabilize your emotions. They affirm to your system, I am present. I have a role to play. The second you disengage your body from deliberate action, your brain's vibrancy begins to fade. You notice you're slower, less inspired, and more fatigued. Your self-assurance starts to wane, and bit by bit you misplace your identity, because how we move is a part of who we are. The way you carry yourself, reach, and stand sends a continuous message to your nervous system that you are fully engaged with life, not just enduring it. This is precisely why just pottering around the home isn't sufficient. It is better than doing nothing, certainly, but it's not functional exercise. It's a survival motion. It's unconscious. It fails to correct your posture. It does nothing to build your glutes, enhance your gait, or fortify your equilibrium. For now, it keeps you on your feet, but over the long term, it allows your musculature to go dormant. It lets your central strength dissolve. It permits weakness to take root in areas that once felt powerful. What's required is conscious motion, activity that demands effort, command, and mental presence, not to complete a marathon or to lift enormous weights, but to preserve your joints' intended function, to maintain spinal alignment, and to keep your nervous system alert. This means incorporating resistance training, even with just a simple band or your own body weight. It involves stretching with intention, not just idly bending. It entails postural exercises that train your shoulders to stay back, your spine to remain tall, and your hips to be steady. And absolutely, it means walking with intention. Ideally outdoors every day, where the terrain varies, compelling you to use your balance and gait with genuine focus. Each time you engage in purposeful movement, you communicate to your nervous system, I am still essential, keep me ready, and your system responds in kind. Your circulation improves, your hormones find balance, your digestion functions better, your breaths become deeper, your spirit lifts. You don't require a membership to a gym. You don't need complicated regimens. You simply must reclaim movement as a form of medicine daily. Make it consistent and non-negotiable. Because the moment you cease to move, the decline is not patient, it arrives quickly. It begins in tiny ways. Your legs feel drained after a brief walk. You find yourself tripping more. You feel unsteady when you turn, but then it escalates. You start to see muscle disappear, not from illness, but from lack of use. You see bone density decrease, not from aging, but from being sedentary. And as your posture starts to cave in, your lungs have less room to expand. Your stability becomes precarious, and your confidence disintegrates. Movement is not an activity you do when you feel well. It is the very thing that makes you feel well. It is what keeps your digestive tract functioning, your joints supple, your mind sharp. It is the message to your body that you are still part of this world, not as a spectator, but as an active participant. So, reflect for a moment, when is the last time you moved with your health in mind, not just from sheer habit, but deliberately? When is the last time you walked not only to the refrigerator, but around your neighborhood with your shoulders back and a confident step? When is the last time you stood up straight, stretched your arms out wide, and let your body remember it was designed for engagement? Don't allow convenience to rob you of your vitality. Don't permit comfort to weaken your foundation. Don't let stillness become your default state. You don't need to find hours. You only need a few minutes each day to transmit the signal: I am still here. I am still active. I still choose to participate in my own life. Because activity is life itself, and a real, vibrant, engaged existence starts the instant you decide to take that very next step. They eat to feel soothed, not to be fueled. A silent transformation in eating patterns occurs for many as they get older, and it's frequently overlooked. It begins subtly. Foregoing meals because you don't feel that hungry. Opting for softer things that are less work to chew. Grabbing something simple because you're the only one eating. But gradually, eating evolves from a way to nourish your body into a way to soothe your emotions. Food starts to become automatic, feeling-based or driven by nostalgia. And while occasional comfort is perfectly fine, the trouble arises when it becomes the standard operating procedure, because your body, particularly past 60, doesn't primarily require soothing. It requires substantial support. The fact is, your digestive environment is different as you age. Your stomach makes less acid. Your gut microbiome transforms. Your system is not as good at drawing out certain nutrients, specifically protein, magnesium, B12 and vitamin D. You lose muscle more quickly. You put on fat more easily, and your insulin sensitivity is not what it once was. This all means the dietary habits that were okay in your 30s are now actively working against you in your 60s. If you persist in eating as you always have, your body doesn't just get sluggish, it begins a silent internal process of breaking down cell by cell. Even so, most older people continue to center their meals on the familiar: breads, pasta, mashed potatoes, cereals, crackers, sweets, and processed foods, quick, easy snacks, things that are soft, sugary, salty, and eaten over and over. These items are emotionally satisfying, but they are also nutritionally hollow. They send your blood sugar on a roller coaster, promote inflammation, and leave your cells under-resourced. You might feel physically full, but your system is still desperate for genuine nourishment. Eventually, that deep-seated hunger manifests as chronic fatigue, aching joints, mental haze, a compromised immune system, and poor recovery. You aren't just getting older, you are becoming malnourished. And this is what so many fail to comprehend. The comfort foods don't just influence your body, they influence your brain. Heavily processed, carbohydrate-dominant meals have a sedative effect. They cloud your ability to focus. They diminish your energy levels. They provoke inflammation within the brain, disrupt neurotransmitter activity, and can amplify feelings of depression. That afternoon nap you absolutely need after a substantial lunch. That cognitive fog you just can't clear up later in the day. That perpetually bloated, heavy sensation. It's likely not your age. It is your nutrition. You are what your body can actually absorb, not just what you consume. And if your cells are inundated with sugar, devoid of fiber, and deprived of essential nutrients, they have no resources for self-repair. They cannot regenerate muscle tissue. They cannot safeguard your organs. They cannot maintain a sharp nervous system. When you primarily eat for comfort, you are systematically draining the vitality from your existence. Your body might be getting by, but it certainly isn't flourishing. It is merely surviving. And that represents the slow deterioration that no one ever discusses: the distinction between the process of aging and the process of decaying. So, what is meant by eating deliberately? It means giving priority to function over sheer flavor. Not for every single meal, but for the majority of them. It means constructing your plates around protein, quality meats, fish, eggs, and legumes, because your muscle mass is the primary asset of aging. Without it, every other system weakens. It means actively selecting foods rich in fiber, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and seeds, because your digestion requires activity to remain effective. It means reducing your sugar intake, not solely for your weight, but because sugar is a primary driver of inflammation and an energy thief. And it involves hydrating with water, not with soda, juices, or coffee around the clock, because your cells demand clean liquid to work correctly. Eating properly is not about a feeling of deprivation, it is about an act of respect. Respect for what your body requires in this chapter of life, showing respect for your own future by building its strength today. You don't have to adopt a rigid diet or turn into a nutrition fanatic. You just need to be real with yourself. Are you fueling your body, or are you just sedating it? Are your meals designed to keep you sharp, mobile, and full of life? Or are they a way to kill time, manage stress, or get out of cooking? A single change can start a ripple effect. Trading your morning cereal for eggs, substituting soda with sparkling water, tossing a handful of leafy greens onto your dinner plate, saying no to dessert a couple of nights a week. These minor choices send a huge signal to your body: I'm still invested. I am present. I am choosing to live with vitality. And your system will answer with increased energy, a better mood, more restful sleep, and sharper thinking. You don't need flawless meals, but you do require purposeful ones. Because after 60, your food is not just about pleasure anymore. It is your pharmacy, it is your forward momentum. It's your signal to your very cells that you aren't surrendering. You're gearing up for the next chapter. They allow their social circle to shrink. Human connection isn't just a perk. It's not simply a nice to have element of life. For an aging body and brain, genuine connection is a potent form of medicine. It is the very thing that keeps your nervous system stable. It's what helps your mind stay clear, your heart rhythm steady, and your spirit vibrant. But as they get older, countless people let their social sphere contract, often so gradually they don't even see it happening. They stop returning calls from friends. They decline invitations to events. They find excuses to miss family functions. Conversations become briefer. The days grow more silent. And that encroaching quietness morphs into a type of isolation that can inflict more harm than almost any illness. When you disconnect from other people, your body starts to respond. And it's not a positive response. Research confirms that social isolation raises the risk of a premature death even more than obesity, alcoholism, or a sedentary lifestyle. It elevates your cortisol levels. It dampens your immune response. It amplifies inflammation throughout your body. It is a direct contributor to memory issues, anxiety, depression, and even heart problems. You might be physically alive, but your cells are starting to behave as if you've already given up. Still, this happens to countless individuals. For some, it is a consequence of retiring. You no longer interact with colleagues. Your daily structure changes, your schedule opens up, but in the process, your world gets smaller. In other cases, health is a factor. You have less mobility, and all of a sudden, going out feels like a massive undertaking, or maybe friends pass on, family relocates, and the phone doesn't ring as much, leaving you to pass entire days in silence. Not by choice, but because you've come to accept it as inevitable. But loneliness should never be seen as inevitable. It is not merely an emotional experience. It is a physical reality that puts a severe strain on your well-being. What is often missed is that engaging with others is a neurological workout. Each time you engage in a real conversation, your brain is working on numerous fronts. You're deciphering language, recalling information, interpreting nonverbal cues, mirroring emotion, and navigating the cadence of the interaction. This process keeps your mind vibrant. A good laugh releases dopamine. Truly listening to someone else activates your capacity for empathy. A simple hug can lower blood pressure and calm your heart. These are not minor details. They are the hidden mechanics that regulate your internal environment. And once they go missing, your body begins its retreat from life itself. That's why it's not sufficient to just be in the same room as people. You require authentic engagement, true connection. The kind that serves as a reminder that you have a place here, that your journey is significant, that someone recognizes you and that you recognize them. It could be a simple call, a coffee meeting, a stroll with a neighbor, volunteering for an hour a week, or joining a small interest group. These activities are not optional extras. They are fundamental necessities, because when you feel seen, heard, and valued, your entire biological state changes. You hold yourself more upright. You can think with more clarity. You feel more youthful. Your very cells are reminded of how to truly live. Conversely, when individuals stop initiating contact, and crucially stop allowing others to connect with them, the deterioration happens faster than anyone imagines. It often starts with simple memory lapses. Then, your sleep patterns get worse. Your motivation evaporates. You cease to care about your appearance, how you are moving, or what you're eating. You begin to disappear from the inside long before your physical health fails. It's rarely the heart that is the first to go, it is the bond to life. And it's true, the modern world is different. It's quicker, more screen-oriented. People often scroll instead of conversing. Everything can seem loud and chaotic. But this is precisely why your presence is so vital. You don't need to be an expert in the latest trends or technology. You simply need to remain deeply human, to stay engaged, to be the person who strikes up the conversation, to phone your children, to message your old acquaintances, organize a weekly game, or show up to that community gathering, even if it feels a little uncomfortable at first. Because the longer you participate, the longer your body remains responsive to life. And let's be frank, it requires bravery. It is much simpler to pull back, to say no thank you and remain at home. But if you wish to safeguard your well-being, your memory, and your emotional resilience, you must have people, not crowds of them, just a handful who inject vitality into your existence, who challenge you, who lend an ear, who serve as a reminder that you are still important. You never outgrow the need for connection. In fact, you grow into an even deeper requirement for it. So ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you initiated contact instead of just waiting to hear from someone? When did you last have a genuine, face-to-face discussion that made you smile, reflect, or reminisce? When was the last time someone gave you a real hug and you felt your entire nervous system relax? These experiences are not optional. They are your life force. They are an integral part of your strategy for longevity, whether you know it or not. Because this is the ultimate reality. The second you cease to be a part of the world, your body begins its preparations to exit it. But the second you decide to re-engage, to be present, connected, and truly alive, everything within you starts to shift back toward life. You don't need a cast of thousands, you need connection. Profound, steady, and meaningful connection. Do not allow your world to contract. Expand it, even if just by a single conversation. They sleep poorly and accept it as a given. One of the most destructive fallacies about growing older is that subpar sleep is somehow an expected part of the deal. The belief that after 60 or 70, you're meant to resign yourself to fragmented rest, endless nights of tossing and turning, and unwanted early awakenings. This notion is not just inaccurate, it's profoundly damaging. Deficient sleep isn't some benign symptom of aging. It's a flashing red light, a direct message that your body's core systems, your brain, your hormonal balance, your immunity, are under strain. And if you choose to overlook that message, the harm doesn't plateau. It quietly escalates night after night. The vast majority of people fail to link sleep with their long-term wellness. They view it as simple downtime, optional, flexible, something based on convenience. But sleep isn't just downtime. It's a full-blown recovery operation. It is the designated time when your brain flushes out toxins, your immune system performs critical repairs, your hormones recalibrate, your experiences are consolidated into memories, and your system fundamentally chooses between a path of healing or a path of decay. If you are jolting awake every couple of hours, depending on medication to fall asleep, or feeling perpetually groggy and sluggish every single morning, you aren't merely tired. You are aging at an accelerated rate. Insufficient sleep causes the brain to atrophy. This isn't just a hypothesis, it's been documented repeatedly in neuroimaging. An under-rested brain doesn't just operate slowly, it physically gets smaller with time. And the regions most vulnerable are those governing memory, focus, emotional stability, and judgment. You begin to misplace names. You run out of patience more quickly. You become easily agitated, anxious, or isolated, not because of your personality, but due to poor sleep hygiene. And the damage doesn't halt at the brain. Poor sleep devastates the immune system. A single night of broken sleep drastically reduces your body's capacity to ward off infections. Chronic sleep deficits promote inflammation, the very same systemic inflammation tied to heart conditions, Alzheimer's, arthritis, diabetes, and major depression. Your joints hurt more, your digestive system grows more reactive, your body recovers from everything more slowly. And the most insidious part is that it all feels gradual and manageable, like you're just a little run down. But on the inside, the wreckage is accumulating. In spite of all this, many older individuals simply accept bad sleep as their fate. They dismiss the signs, saying, "This is just how I am now." They pop a pill, scroll endlessly on their device, or keep the television on as they drift into slumber. They believe that this form of rest is adequate. But that kind of sleep, interrupted, superficial, and chemically induced, doesn't rejuvenate your body. It just numbs it. It places you in a state of suspension where your nervous system can never fully reset. And eventually, that process wears you out in ways you cannot always perceive. The answer is not just a greater quantity of sleep, it is a higher quality of sleep. And superior sleep does not occur by chance. It demands self-discipline. It requires that you guard your internal rhythm, your circadian clock, with the same diligence you would guard your physical health. Because they are one and the same. This involves reducing light exposure in the evening. Your body gets its cues from ambient light. When you keep your home brightly lit late at night, you are signaling to your brain that it is still midday. This inhibits the release of melatonin and cuts short your period of deep sleep. The remedy is simple: dim your lights after the sun goes down. Put away screens at least 2 hours before you intend to sleep. Let your body sense the transition from day to night. Your environment's temperature is also critical. Your core body temperature needs to decrease by a couple of degrees for you to enter deep sleep. A very warm room obstructs this from happening. Sleeping in a cooler space, ideally around 65 ref or 18 gig C, can substantially lengthen the time you spend in the most restorative phases of sleep. If you find yourself waking up restless or in a sweat, room temperature could be the hidden culprit. Natural supplements like magnesium can also be beneficial. I'm not talking about sleeping pills which frequently just sedate you without actually restoring you. But gentle, calming aids like magnesium glycinate can help the body unwind without forcing it into unconsciousness. Combine this with mindful breathing, slow, deliberate breaths before you sleep, and you are activating your parasympathetic nervous system. That's the system responsible for signaling, you are safe, you are allowed to let go. But the most crucial element of all is to hold sleep in high regard, making it a central priority, not a mere afterthought. You would never consistently skip meals and believe your body would remain strong. You cannot consistently miss out on deep, high-quality sleep and believe your mind and body will operate effectively. You have to approach your bedtime as a sacred period, a time to disconnect, to decompress, and to prepare your system for its nightly healing. If you are finding it hard to sleep, do not disregard it. Pay attention to it. Consider a sleep study. Check for issues like apnea. Optimize your bedroom. Develop a calming pre-sleep ritual. Turn sleep into something you embrace, not something you struggle against. Because when you rest well, everything in your life improves. Your memory, your vitality, your immunity, your mood, and your ability to handle stress. You don't require perfect sleep every night, but you do require deliberate sleep, and you are not too old to change your habits. You are not too far down the road to make improvements. Your body still has a desire to heal. Your brain still has a desire to mend itself, but it cannot do so if you are undermining its natural rhythm every single night. Stop letting poor sleep feel normal. Stop letting exhaustion become your default state. Opt for the kind of rest that renews you, not just the kind of rest that gets you to the morning. Because the longer you continue to sleep badly, the shorter your existence becomes. They live without a reason why. This is the final point, and it's the most challenging, not due to its rarity, but because it is silently all around us. Unspoken, unseeable from the exterior, but profoundly felt on the interior. It is the point at which a person ceases to move toward a goal, when all of their days begin to blend together, when there is no target to aim for, nothing to construct, nothing to nurture or defend. This is not about a shortage of time, it's a complete loss of purpose. And once that disappears, the body often starts to dim right along with it. A purpose is not your former career, it's not your job title, it's not even a measure of your output. A purpose is a choice. It's the decision to stay dedicated to something that has meaning. This could be tending to your own health, being a pillar of support for someone you care about, passing on your wisdom, contributing to your community, acquiring a new skill, or simply starting each day with the intention, I still have value to offer. This isn't a matter of being busy. It's a matter of feeling essential. And when your nervous system feels it is essential, it remains fully engaged. But when that feeling is gone, it begins to power down slowly, almost unwillingly, but inevitably. The issue is that most people do not just retire from a job. They retire from purposeful struggle, from having a vision, from the very challenges that kept them mentally acute. The schedule no longer matters. The responsibilities are gone. And for the first few months, this might feel like liberation. But an excess of stillness isn't true freedom. It's decline wearing a disguise. The physical body begins to soften. Muscle tone fades, the posture starts to slump, the appetite wanes, sleep becomes less restorative, hormone levels decrease, brain activity slows down, and your spirit, the very essence of you that once had a fiery focus, becomes hushed, not extinguished, just muted. You can perceive it in their gaze, in their speech, in their movements. People who used to carry themselves with pride start to stoop. Those who were once forward-looking now seem to only look at the ground. Their voices get quieter. Their options seem to dwindle. Their gait slows. This is not simply the effect of aging. It is what occurs when an individual no longer feels a sense of calling. When there is no compelling reason to try, no one depending on them, and nothing new on the horizon to wake up for. And this is the stark reality. Without a guiding purpose, the human organism begins its preparations to shut down. Not immediately, but step by step. The immune defenses weaken, memory is deemed less critical, so the brain begins to let it go, the eyes lose their sharp focus, the spine starts to compress, circulation slows. These are not merely the consequences of time passing, they are the consequences of being disconnected from a source of meaning. And your body, being incredibly intelligent, refuses to allocate energy to a system that no longer has intention. But here is the hopeful part. A sense of purpose can be reignited at any age, in anyone. It does not demand some monumental mission or a public stage. It begins with one simple inquiry: what can I still offer? This question holds immense power. It strikes a match within your nervous system. It brings clarity back into the eyes. It firms up the posture. It steadies the heartbeat. It sends a message to your biology that there's still work to be done here. Keep going. A purpose can be modest, tending to your garden with focus, phoning your grandchild and truly listening, guiding a younger person in your neighborhood, diving into a new book, mastering a new recipe, walking to maintain strength for a loved one, helping someone else navigate their own fears. You do not need an audience or applause. You simply need a responsibility, even if that responsibility is only to yourself. Because the instant you claim ownership, the instant you declare that your life is still in session, a fundamental shift begins. You start eating better. You sleep more soundly. Your thoughts become sharper. Why does this happen? Because your body is led by your mind, and your mind is led by your purpose. The moment you say to yourself, "I have not finished yet," your cells are listening. Your brain begins to rewire itself. Your nervous system re-engages. You cease to just drift. You begin once more to move forward, perhaps at a gentle pace, but definitely forward. Do not let society persuade you that your most valuable years are in the past. Do not accept the fiction that retirement is synonymous with a release from meaning. You don't retire from being vital to someone. You don't retire from directing the course of your own life. You do not retire from having a heart that cares. If you woke up this morning, then this day belongs to you. If you are still drawing breath, you are still being invited to be a part of life. Do not live on autopilot. Do not just float through your days. Do not approach your life as if it were a waiting area. The clock is still running. The question is, are you still committed to participating? Purpose is not something you stumble upon. You build it through your choices, through your focus, through your sheer will. Select something that is worth getting up for, because the moment you exist without a purpose, your body begins to question its own reason for being here. And the moment you choose to live with purpose once again, your body remembers its role and begins to reconstruct your life from the deepest level. You don't need a massive mission, but you absolutely need a reason. A garden, a grandchild, a journal, a community group, a cause, anything at all that reminds you I count. Final truth: most people don't pass away because they got old. They pass away because they stopped taking part in their own existence. Do not wait for decline to be your reminder to live. Live your life now, with activity, with proper fuel, with connection, with quality rest, and with a reason. Because arriving at the finish line is never a guarantee, but how you run the race is entirely up to you.